Today on Toy Habits Reviews, we're taking a detailed look at the Target exclusive Python Patrol Copperhead and comparing him to his first release. And before we dive into the review, smash that like button, turn on notifications, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss a beat. Hey everyone, welcome back to Toy Habits, and we have the Python Patrol Copperhead in the spotlight, and we are bringing all of the Target exclusives in for a Python Patrol party. And here we have the Python Patrol Cobra Copperhead figure, and this is the latest of the Target exclusives, and really loving the way that the windowless boxes are coming out, but we all know that the window packaging is coming back, so we can enjoy this while we can. There's an illustration of Copperhead right here. He looks really amazing in his Python Patrol colors, and we actually have the figure in a nice pose in front of a pyramid and jungle scene with a nice little gecko under his legs. Loving the Python Patrol updated logo, and as always, these illustrations on the side of the box are really amazing. And looking to the back of the box, we have the digital render of Copperhead and a close-up of the logo, as well as his belt buckle, because why not? All right, let's open up the Python Patrol Copperhead and take him out of the box. And now that Copperhead is out of the box, let's take a look at him from head to toe. And let's start off with the head sculpt. And he is sporting a Python Patrol yellow helmet, which looks very cool. He's got his burgundy breathing apparatus, and his mask is all black. Now, I really wanted them to do some silver accents like they did in the first release, but it actually looks okay like this. And I have no idea what happened to Copperhead in battle or anything, but he has some deformation on his cheeks, or is it the mask that's pressing up against his cheeks that's making his facial expression look the way he is? Now, I'm not sure if this is just my version, but Copperhead went a little cray with the razor, and he did shave off part of his eyebrow. Well, I just double checked my first release of Copperhead, and this is actually how his eyebrows are painted on. So it actually is great because now he is consistent across both of his uniforms. All right, now getting a closer look at Copperhead's chest, and pretty much all of the Python Patrol greens that you see here on his upper body are basically where the skin tones were for the first release. So he is sporting a very cool black tank top with the Python Patrol logo on there, which is really nice. So let's get a nice shot of that logo. They are doing such a good job with updating these logos. I love them, but you kind of have to put the holster kind of smushed down a little bit because you don't want to cover up that cool symbol, but the tendency is for this piece to kind of go over the Python Patrol logo here, which I'm not a fan of, so I think I'm just going to smush it down and have it in full view like this. And while we're up close, we can see that burgundy holster with what looks to be a burgundy gun. So with these repaints, I would love for them just to make some little accents of black, so it just looks like a gun handle versus just the whole thing is all burgundy. The leather straps are actually really cool. They have some really nice detail here, and you actually see the close-up of the straps that are going over his shoulder and all the way around the back. See, we have the leather detail right here, and you can see where the burgundy meets the black, and you can see the back of his tank top, which is nice. And looking at the arms are done in the Python Patrol cross hatching, which is more of a lime green on a more of a darker green color palette. He does have some nice burgundy on his gloves, and his gloves have some really nice texturing to them. We get the armband that we got with the original figure and original release, and if you don't watch out, you can have that armband slip down, but it pretty much stays on. He has the same Python Patrol cross-hatching and color scheme on his right arm, and really his arms are actually symmetrical. They're just mirror images of each other. All right, and moving down to the belt, apologies for the gratuitous crotch shot, but he is sporting the metal plated waist. You can see the rivets covering the family jewels here, and kind of like the holster was covering up the logo a little bit, you do get into a situation where the knife sheath for the machete is covering up this very cool skull with a serpent around it, which is awesome. But in order for the machete sheath to lay nicely and just to lay natural, you will get it covering that belt buckle, which is not a big deal, but you can also pull it down as well. You have the sheath for the machete, which has some nice details here, and in the first release it was black, so we can also see some of the details that are highlighted when this is a different color. And taking a look at the legs now, he has the Python Patrol green and also the yellow on the inside of his thighs. He also has a thigh gun holster, which is neat, and it has that similar texture detail that his belt and his pistol harness have. Which is cool. So everything is tying nicely together. And oops, I forgot. He does have that plating on the rear of the figure too. So it looks like there's some rivets here. So yeah, he's got protection in all the right places. And moving down to the boots, he does have a very simple boot design, which is the same as his first release, and I love that they're tucking the pants into the boots, and it just makes it look like real clothing. Although it's kind of funky where they have the yellow here, the folds cut off, so I'm not sure if that's just a metal plating or just some extra protection that doesn't really mimic clothing. All right, now that we have taken a look at Copperhead and his sculpt, let's take a look at his weapons and accessories. Alright, and here is Copperhead kneeling to the weapons and accessory god, so let's take a look at his pack-in, and he does come with that same pistol that came with his first release, and it's a very basic firearm, and I wish they had put some silver accents on it, but it actually does look really nice in just a straight black. And we also have his really cool revolver, and the change for this one is the paint app is in gold instead of silver, which is really cool because it goes with the Python Patrol deco, and also there is a cool sight on the end of this. And we also have a machete holder, which has some very nice texturing. It's basically the part that came with his first release, but they did put some gold tips on the bullets here, which is really nice. And we do have Copperhead's lucky machete, and boy, this might be the luckiest machete of all because it looks like it's caked in blood, or I'm not sure if this is rust, but if it's rust, you would see it more along the entire blade instead of just the cutting motion, because you would swing and chop this blade into somebody like that. So maybe a Joe was on the receiving end of this machete, so I think Copperhead should not clean the blood off this thing and just leave it as is. All right, well, let's take a look at Copperhead all geared up. All right, and here's the Python Patrol Copperhead all geared up, and there's some really cool things that you can do with his weapons and accessories because they all stow on his body. And so his revolver stows back here, which is really nice. The gold is peeking out of the top here, which goes really nicely with the gold bullets that are on his holster for his revolver. And we also have the black revolver just as a side piece on his right thigh, and the bloody machete. It's really cool because you can actually have him grab this and you can actually have him take it out, and if he was actually in combat he would not drop it because he is so much better than me trying to pose him with his machete. So but he looks really cool, and let's take a look at him with his firearms. All right, and here is Copperhead with his firearms, and it looks like the water moccasin driver is also an expert marksman with revolvers and small firearms. These are really cool in his hands, and they just give him some extra backstory because all we knew of him when we were little is that he was the Cobra water moccasin pilot. And speaking of which, let's bring in his first release just to do some comparisons. All right, and here we have Copperhead's first release compared to the Python Patrol version, and here's where I was talking about where they added some silver accents into Copperhead's mask, and I think that would have really made the Python Patrol version that much better, although the burgundy does stand out a little better than the darker color for this breathing apparatus. You can also see the changes in the helmet paint app, and so those are pretty standard there. And what I was referring to earlier when I mentioned that all of the skin tone basically was replaced with this Python Patrol deco. And so it looks like he has a shirt on, I hope, because it would take a very long time to paint this on him every single time. But in the first release, he looks exactly like his vintage counterpart. And in the second release, he looks like his vintage counterpart from the Python Patrol. And just the same as this very nice Cobra logo is covered up by the holster here. Similar thing happening with the Python Patrol logo on his upper left breast. And we can also see some of the paint app changes that they've done on the belt. So this nice skull and serpent is painted silver on the regular release, and it's painted in gold on the Python Patrol version. And here is just a quick look-see at the legs and just how they are painted differently. And let's get in all of the Python Patrol Target exclusives in here just to see how they look together. All right, and here we have the latest batch of the latest Python Patrol repaints, and I have to say that these are looking mighty fabulous all together. I think Copperhead is actually my favorite of the bunch, just given his deco, and my favorite vehicle repaint is, of course, the Trouble Bubble. And if you haven't checked out the review for the Trouble Bubble that I did a couple days ago, go check that out as well. The Python Patrol Cobra Officer is also looking pretty fabulous right next to the Trouble Bubble. So what do y'all think about the Python Patrol Copperhead and all of the latest repaints from the Target exclusive G.I. Joe Classified series? Let us know in the comments below. And if you haven't checked out the still image review of the Python Patrol Copperhead done by the one and only Toy Sorceress, you can check that out on our website at www.toyhabits.com, and it's also linked in the description and in the pinned comment. Well, we hope you enjoyed this review, and if you have not subscribed to the channel, we would really appreciate it. See you next time.